Welcome back to Advocacy Alchemy with Professor Ross. Today we have a good one, guys. Imagine thinking you're about to enjoy a night out with someone attractive and charming, only to wake up missing $18,000 and with no memory of what went wrong. That's what Miami police say happened to several men who crossed paths with 23-year-old Rachel Warner, now behind bars and facing serious felony charges. This case isn't just about a bad date, it's about drugs, deception, and a pattern of criminal behavior that has police calling her a danger to the community at large. Let's take a closer look at the surveillance footage. Let's walk through a timeline of the events, a breakdown of the legal implications. We'll also use our evidentiary standards, and we'll talk about whether a jury could convict based on what we know. With that, let's jump in.
Right now, we are getting our first look at newly released surveillance video showing the moments a woman takes off after allegedly drugging and robbing a man in Brickell.
And Local 10's Roy Ramos is in Miami with this new video for us. Roy.
Christy and Janice, police call this a bad date case. And in this case, the suspect is accused of drugging and robbing her victims by making them believe that they are on a legitimate date. Well, we are now seeing video that police say shows just how she was able to do this. Surveillance video obtained by Local 10 capturing 23-year-old Rachel Warner's every move. As City of Miami police said, she tracked down her alleged victim, then drugged and robbed him of his $18,000 Rolex.
I believe that a couple of things. Number one, that the defendant is a danger to our community.
We showed you when Warner was first arrested back in May on grand theft and drug charges, but now video shows what detectives say is her first meeting the victim at the Sugar Rooftop bar off Brickell Plaza in early April, then leaving with him. The two get into an elevator together, the alleged victim appearing to believe his date is going well, but police said it's once the two enter into the victim's hotel room, she makes her move.
While they're in the room, she serves him a drink. Now in this drink, they put some drug. He falls asleep. Next thing you know, hours later, he wakes up and his Rolex is gone.
Warner is then seen leaving the room with her shoes in her hand and almost running down the hallway into an elevator. While she's seen making her getaway that night, the following morning, officers said they spot her on the prowl again.
They located her, identified her, while she's talking to a 61-year-old man, probably trying to do the same thing.
And police say after we first aired our story, multiple men have come forward claiming Warner has not just stolen from them, but believe they too have been drugged by her. One man telling police after bringing her back to his Midtown apartment, he woke up to more than $60,000 in watches, jewelry, and cash gone.
Crazy, man. That's kind of scary.
As for the suspect, when she was arrested, police say she was found with an unknown liquid substance that police believe she was using to drug her alleged victims. She remains behind bars, now being held with no bond. For now in the Brickell area of Miami, Roy Ramos, Local 10 News.
Okay, from the news report and also from the documents that I have, we can see she has a pattern, okay? As you heard from the news report, she was caught after being with the second person just a couple days later. This person is about 61 years old. What charges are at play here? We're talking about the laws in Florida. Rachel Warner isn't facing a single incident. She's connected to at least 3 so far. Here we have 3 different cases. We have F25, that means felony 2025-009333. This is the case associated with what we saw right there on the news report. Sugar Rooftop bar incident, a Rolex stolen after a victim was drugged. All right, the next one is F25-009803. This is from a December 2024 incident. A different victim who recognized Warner from the news and claims she drugged him and robbed him also. And then you have a third. This is F25-010-218. This is from March 2025. This is another bar meetup, suspected drugging, and a Rolex taken from a hotel safe on this one. All right, so let's look at the charges overall, what she's looking at, and the types of charges she's seeing in these 3 different types of cases. All right, first you have grand theft. All right, this is found under the Florida statutes, section 812.014, section 2B. And it says grand theft is any theft over $20,000 but under $100,000 that makes this a second-degree felony. It carries a penalty up to 15 years in prison. Here, the first Rolex we know about was valued at over $18,000. The other victims claim losses of up to $60,000. 2, we have burglary of an occupied dwelling. This is found at section 810.02, section 3A. And it says it's unlawful to enter a dwelling, and this is even a hotel room, to commit a theft. This is a second-degree felony. Each time Warner entered a hotel room under false pretenses, she could be hit with this felony. Number 3, use or possession of controlled substances. This is found at section 893.13. This statute criminalizes the possession, sale, manufacture, and the delivery of controlled substances in Florida. All right, the unknown liquid that's used by Warner, if it contains an unknown substance like benzos or ketamine or something of that nature that can knock a person out, then she could be charged with this statute for possession and potentially for delivery if she administered this to another person, even disguised as a drink. The penalty is a third-degree felony for possession, and that carries up to 5 years in prison, maybe 5 years of probation, fine of up to $5,000. It's a second-degree felony for delivery. That carries up to 15 years in prison, a fine of up to $10,000. Now, everything's going to come down to the lab work, okay? So this is still a fairly new case. I don't even know if Florida's crime lab has had an opportunity to get to this case yet, all right? But that's going to be essential in court, the toxicology report showing what's in the liquid that she was pouring in people's drinks. All right, number 4, battery by administration of an incapacitating agent. This is found at the Florida statute 784.03 and 784.041, section 3. Okay, so regular battery, traditional batteries you see all the time is involving unwanted, intentional touching or striking. All right, so then you have non-traditional forms of battery that include the use of substances to impair or harm. All right, that's where you would use the 784.041. And this is defined as a person commits felony battery if he or she knowingly commits any act that involves the administration to another without their consent of any substance or preparation capable of producing bodily injury or physical or mental impairment. All right, this is a third-degree felony, carries the 555, 5 years in prison, potentially 5 years on probation, and a fine of up to $5,000. All right, enhancements could be possible based on the facts involved. All right, I think this statute, it fits fairly well with what we heard about how she's going about doing this scheme. Takes a man back to their home or some place where they're staying, drugs them, then robs them. All right, so with that, let's move into our evidentiary standards, and let's look at the level of evidence at play here. Let's walk through the 6 levels of evidence used in the legal system. From the weakest to the strongest, each level tells us what law enforcement, prosecutors, and jurors need in order to act. First, we have mere suspicion. Now, this is the weakest level of proof, nothing more than just a hunch or a gut feeling. Now, it doesn't justify a stop or a search or even detention at this level. Here, let's say the hotel clerk sees Warner and the victim heading to the elevator. She's dressed up, he looks excited. Maybe the clerk senses something's off, but without facts or illegal activity, it's just suspicion. No action can be legally taken. Now, moving up a level, we have reasonable suspicion. This means the police can point to specific and articulable facts suggesting someone is involved in some criminal activity. This justifies a brief stop or investigation. So at this level, the police can stop you, stop what you're doing, and hold you while they check into everything and see if there's actually a crime happening. All right, here, after the first robbery, Warner is seen the next morning talking to a different older man outside another hotel. Now, given the timing and the modus operandi, officers had enough to stop and question her. She matched the description, and her behavior created concern. All right, number 3, probable cause. Now, this is defined as existing when the facts and circumstances would lead a reasonable person to believe that a crime has been committed and the suspect is involved. This is the threshold needed for an arrest or for the police to go get a search warrant. Here, we have surveillance footage that shows Warner entering the victim's room and later fleeing quickly with her shoes in hand. When the victim wakes up, he finds he's missing an expensive Rolex watch. That pattern provides probable cause for her arrest, especially taken with she was found the next day or a couple days thereafter with an unknown liquid believed to be used in this whole scheme of drugging people. All right, this level is where an arrest becomes legal. Number 4, preponderance of the evidence. Now, this standard is used in civil court, or when people are going to go sue each other in civil court. This is the standard that's going to apply. It means that more likely than not, a person's claim is true. It takes about 51% of the evidence being in that person's favor to win their action. Here, if the victims were to sue Warner for the value of the stolen items, then they only need to show it's more likely than not that she took this stuff. Now, for the person that's actually involved in what we saw from the news footage, you have that surveillance footage. You have this established sort of MO between all 3 of these cases so far, and her arrest all supports the claim that she's the person that took stuff. All right, moving up one more level, we have clear and convincing evidence. Now, this is in between criminal conviction, and it's a little bit higher than just regular winning at a civil case. This level, clear and convincing evidence, means that it's substantially and highly likely that a person's claim is true. It takes about 75% of the evidence being in a person's favor to win this type of case. This is used for the types of cases that require more evidence to show that you have a winning argument or a winning point, or that your claim is true. This is used in those type of cases where a person is claiming someone defrauded them, or when a person is going up for an administrative hearing about a license that's being lost. This is also standard used when prosecutors want to add enhancements to a person's time based on the circumstances. All right. Here, prosecutors could argue using that video once again, victim statements, and the evidence of a repeated scheme in order to show that Warner is a danger to the community and potentially keep her from gaining bond. Here, we see in the paperwork, look at the paperwork, it says that she is still incarcerated on each one of these cases right now. All right, let's move up one more level to number 6, beyond a reasonable doubt. All right, this is the highest standard in our legal system. It requires the jury to be firmly convinced that the defendant committed the crime. This level means that there is no other logical conclusion besides the defendant being guilty of the crime that they've been charged with. Here, in order to convict Rachel Warner at trial, the state must show she knowingly drugged and robbed her victims. The jury would weigh the surveillance video, testimony of the multiple men, and the forensic results to decide whether the actions were intentional, repeatable, and criminal. All right, at this level, this is where a person's freedom is taken away. Let's move into our jury perspective next. Let's talk about what would you do if you were on this jury. Now let's shift seats. Let's imagine you're in the jury box. You're not just watching this on the news anymore. You're asked to decide someone's fate based on the facts, the footage, and the law. You hear from one man saying, "She drugged me and took my Rolex." You hear from another that says, "She flirted, served me a drink, and I woke up missing $60,000 in cash and jewelry." And then you see the surveillance that confirms that she fled one scene barefoot. And then the very next day, she was talking to another man. Now, ask yourself, is all of this just a coincidence, or does it show a clear pattern in practice? Does her behavior seem spontaneous, or does it come off as strategic? Would you believe that these 3 separate men with no connections, or do you think they made up 3 stories that really sound very similar? You tell me, guilty or not guilty? I think this one's going to be fairly clear-cut and dry. She's probably going to end up taking a plea in order to knock off potentially some of the time that's involved. There are potentially others out there who were victims of this very same scam, and they probably won't come forward because of the embarrassment involved. This isn't just a case about a stolen watch. This is about trust, manipulation, and the dangers of overlooking your instincts. Rachel Warner is now facing multiple felonies across multiple incidents, and all with multiple victims. The evidence includes surveillance footage, a consistent pattern, and substances that may have impaired the victim. But beyond the law, the case is a reminder that your intuition is real. Charm can be deceptive, and when people ignore warning signs, they leave the door open to danger. As a community, as viewers of this channel, and as future jurors, you have a duty to see beyond the surface. Drop your verdict in the comments below, guilty or not guilty. Understand that this just started. This is an incident that just happened only a couple months ago. So the trial won't happen for months from now, but we'll keep an eye on this one and we'll come back to it. Answer me in the comments. Should Warren get prison time or rehabilitation, probation, something of that nature? Also, would you have spotted the red flags? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Remember, this is Advocacy Alchemy, and I am Professor Ross. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there.
Subscribe to Advocacy Alchemy.